Good afternoon, everybody. How's everybody doing this afternoon? A little closer? All right. How's that? All right. Want to welcome everybody to this first workshop for Helen Putnam Park and the Civic Center here. Appreciate everybody showing up and being part of this. It really helps us in the design process. I'm Rick Hendricks. I'm with Integra Landscape Architecture. We've been retained by the city to help put on the workshops and further the design for both the parks. I do have a few of my staff members here. Michael Cook, my business partner. Olga Metz is our senior landscape designer. And then Kim Garcia is an intern in the summer with us from Cal Poly. And I see you got alumni right there in the front row. So, and then with the city manager, Damien Obid, and then Ashley Wilson, the recreation manager. So we all welcome you, and I look forward to a productive meeting today. So with that, little house cleaning issues, restrooms, men's room on this, women's room on that, I got it wrong. Women's room on this side outside, and then men's room on this side. Questions and answers. When you ask a question, I am going to repeat it because we do have also Zoom online people participating in this as well. There is water in the back as well if you guys are thirsty on throughout the day. We are going to start with Helen Putnam Park first. There are some overlapping with the dog parks, but we will start with Helen Putnam first, and then we'll take a little bit of a break and then get into the Cater Civic Center Park as well. So questions can be asked at any time. We will have more of an open discussion at the end of each park, but if you do have questions or want information, additional information, feel free, just raise your hand and I'll call on you. Yeah. So that's a good lead way into what we're doing today. This is gathering information process right now. What you do see up there was 2019, very conceptual master plans at the time. That is some basic stuff that came out of multiple workshops for the master plan, which was every park within the city. What we're doing today is really honing in on the two parks, Helen Putnam Park and then the Civic Center. And then more specifically, some higher priorities that came out of that master plan from 2019. So like Helen Putnam, the higher things that came out on it was a dog park, a perimeter trail, and a connection to the Laguna Trail across the creek. Civic higher priorities were, again, a dog park. There were some other higher priorities, but one of the larger components was the dog park. And then additionally, since that time, the city's got a lot of comments to look at putting in another volleyball court. That wasn't part of the original 2019, but it is something that we'll discuss today. And then I do want to reiterate that, again, these plans were conceptual. Why we're here today is to get you guys' input. So we're designing and putting in amenities that you guys want. Yeah. Well, that's the baseball field. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, okay. The baseball field, you can ask those questions, and I think the city would probably be better at answering those. Again, the design or our scope, at least for Helen Putnam, is really the dog park and the perimeter trail and the connection from. So, well, that's what we're here to discuss. Yeah. So, okay. Okay. So let's get into it. I'm sure that some of the slides will inform. We'll have more questions, and that's what we're here for. To get feedback from you, what you guys want. So, okay.
And for those attending via Zoom, I'm Ashley Wilson. I'll be your DJ today. When we have questions, I'll ask if anyone on Zoom has questions, and you can use the raise hand icon. I'll call on you by name to ask the question, and you can unmute, and then please stay muted when you're not asking a question. If you're on a phone instead of a computer or tablet, you would do *9 to raise your hand and lower it, and *6 to unmute. But for now, we're just going to go ahead and get started. And if for some reason you have any issues and can't hear us, please let me know when I call on you. Okay, thank you.
Next slide. Okay, we spoke a little bit about this, but how did we get here? And again, we'll go through this part of it. The city produced a capital parks plan in 2019, which was a master plan for all the parks. It took inventory of every park. We had 3 workshops, online surveys, and various community presentations through that process. And again, through that process, there was priority on certain amenities within each of those parks. Again, the inventory was done. That's all published online if you guys want to see it. The boards up there are what was, at least the board on the right is what was up there originally. The other one's been adjusted a little bit with the baseball field. Funding for this is from Measure S and from Prop 68 and Measure M. Okay. Next slide. Yes. Jamie, you want to?
So the question for people on Zoom was, did we sign a lease agreement with someone for the baseball field? And technically, I mean, essentially, yes, it's a license agreement is what it's technically called. And it's a little league team for like middle school aged and JV aged kids. And yeah, so they have use of that field. It's still publicly available as well. They just have first right for scheduling games and practices there. But it's still open to the public. And what they're really doing is they're taking that really crappy field that was essentially unusable and refurbishing it. So it's going to be actually a pretty beautiful field and usable for team games and you know, for kids and that sort of thing. So that's basically what the arrangement is. Yeah. So the question is, will the baseball field be open to the public? And yeah, it will be open to the public. The arrangement is that the Little League team, when they schedule their practices and games, they have the first priority to schedule those. But outside of that, it's open to the public. Well, we do have a league now. It's North Coast. It is local, yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kids from the area. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the concern was about the baseball field grading and any drainage issues. So the field previously had a swale in the middle with some storm drain inlets. So it drains. I call it the soccer field, but it really wasn't usable for soccer because there's so many gopher holes. But you know that it drains to that swale. And then I'm not actually sure how the baseball field used to drain. It seemed like it kind of drained towards. Yeah. Yeah, it drains like towards the to the west. Yeah. Yeah. Right. That was my understanding, is that there's a low spot there by the dog park and it goes to that. Yeah. So they're going to start grading, I understand, next week, and well, no, the plan is, it has been engineered. The plan is that it's going to drain from basically the entire baseball field is going to drain towards the center of Putnam Field, where that swale is. It's being graded so that it drains that way. So where does the water go when it gets to the center? There's a storm drain that goes out to the Laguna. I mean, all right. Thank you. All right. Sorry. Yeah. So the question is it a year-round team? It's a good, they're going to be using it, I think, a lot of the year. I don't know if it's fully year-round. We actually is it full? Yeah. Yeah. Well, obviously not when it's raining, but yeah, they'll be using it throughout the year. Okay. So here you go, Rick. Thank you.
What? You want me to take it, or do you want that? You want me to take that, or? Okay, so the question is, what about, I guess, the existing parking based on the new baseball field and there, so, and traffic along the front. So right now there isn't, but again, this is why we're having the meeting. We can we'll take those notes down. If need be, a traffic study needs to be done, we can take a look at that. But
and just, keep in mind too, there was a baseball field there. There's nothing new about the baseball field. It's just, yeah. Yeah. So,
I felt like 2 in the morning walking the street and it was like I was sweating.
okay. Yeah. Got it. Yeah. Thank you.
okay, next slide, Ashley. Oh, Ashley, you want to?
Sure. Yeah, we have to still decide what that field's going to be, if that's going to be soccer or some other team or sport, but we would look into that when we got there. We don't have any active plans to have any sort of soccer league or anything at this time.
Yeah. So the question is, what's being done to prevent, I assume Putnam you're talking about, Putnam Field, from that field getting destroyed, presumably after it's being refurbished. Yeah. Yeah. So my understanding is the plan is to put gopher wire down across most of the field there, which will prevent it. But we've also been this year we've been actively, I'd say aggressively going after the gophers as well, because it's, as you guys know, it's out of control. So yeah. Yeah. So, nope. All right. Okay.
All right, thank you. So the slide up there is the previous public comments from 2019 master plan for Helen Putnam Park. And again, the numbers to the right were the preferences during the workshops and surveys. So as you can see, a dog park was very, very high on the list for Helen Putnam Park. The connection to the bridge, more benching, seating, path around the park, dog park closer to the parking. So those were kind of the highlights from the 2019. But again, we're back here today to really hone in on exactly what that means now and be able to do a design for you for that park. So. Well, yeah, Ashley.
The
A lot of times they have specific use for recreation.
the
Using it specifically for dogs.
the funding is for any recreational program or activity, and that can be anything that works in the park. But the funding for this is not currently Prop 68. That was funding for Cotati Park. So we're using Measure M funds from the county and Measure S, which is our tax measure.
I'm sorry. Long.
So, sorry, we'll answer this one more question, then we got to move on to the next slide. So I assume you're talking about the baseball field. So the league is maintaining the field. That's the answer to that question.
Okay, next slide, Ashley. So Hill and Putnam Park, again, the intent for the day was really trying to delve into the higher listings on there, which again was the walking path, the dog park, connection to the Laguna de Santa Rosa Trail, and then obviously ADA path of travel to amenities, which is something we'd have to do with whatever we put in new. So, okay. So what we're going to be doing is doing a survey with you guys, a little polling. The staff will be handing out some polling items for you to fill in on those. Zoom wise, Ashley, they'll be able to answer directly on Zoom. And this is again, trying to get a priority on some of these. What are higher priorities? What are things you want in the park? Layout, size, things like that. So we'll go through each one and let you give us some feedback on those. Why don't you go to the next slide? Yeah, I won't start. Yeah. So while they're passing that out again, we're really trying to get your solicitation. So whatever goes in the park or doesn't go in the park is really what the community wants within those parks. We'll review, again, both parks had dog materials, so we'll be reviewing some information on again, layout and materials for the dog park. And then the pathway and connection to the trail system. So, yeah, next slide. Go ahead. Yeah, I'll wait until. Yes. We have that actually on here, and we do want some feedback on if there is a more formal dog park somewhere else, you know, what goes on in that space. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it is the current dog park, and again, if the community wants to keep it as the dog park, then we'll keep it as the dog park. Yeah. You know.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, go, yeah. Okay.
Okay, it's a very good question, and we'll definitely look into if there's any legal reasons that it needs to be stay as the dog park. So, okay. So, so one of the first questions that we want to get from you, and again, this is for Helen Putnam Park, is basically the dog park layout. And there's going to be 3 questions in here to answer on them, and they're again just to try to find out the input from the community. Why don't you go to the first one? Yeah. So the first one will be about location. So you can see the ABC on the slide, the image on the upper left. So that's going to be pertaining to those locations. Next slide, Ashley. Oh. Okay, so this is the first poll, and it's the first one on location. So item or area 1 was closer to the parking. Again, that was something that came out from the 2019 workshops. So on your paper, just select which one. The east side of the park. So that's basically where the open field is right now, above the parking lot. The other one is the current location. Do we just keep the current location for the dog park where it's at? And then other one is other, which can be a write-in if you guys have other options for location within the park. Other could be also leave it as is.
For those on Zoom, I just launched the Putnam Park dog location poll, and you can put your answer in. We'll wait until everybody's answered. It looks like nobody has answered so far, so I'm hoping that you can see it. The options are near the parking lot, B, east side of the park, C, current location, and D, other.
Just let me know, Ashley, when they're.
Is somebody able in Zoom to unmute and let me know if you can see the poll at all?
Yes, I did submit an answer to that poll.
Okay, thank you.
One of the nice things about being able to be back in person. No technical problems. Yes. Other. We got 2. Let me answer this one first. So again, if shade is something that is very important, which it did came up on the other one, that's input that we'll take down. I know in the dog park, when we get in there a little farther, we do ask about questions about shade. Also on the perimeter trail about shade there as well. So there will be opportunity to have input on that as well. The flooding, well, yeah, I know that, yeah, the existing current one has definitely a flooding problem. Again, if that is the community consensus to keep it there, we will be doing a survey once the baseball field gets done. So we'll have information on the other areas in those certain area.
For those on
Well-
Zoom, I just launched the size slide. Size, location, or size of the dog park, if you would want small, medium, or large.
Okay,
A is half acre, small, B is medium up to 1 acre, and C is large, 1 acre plus.
the question is, are we cutting down the 10 trees within the orange? Yeah, so, correct me if I'm wrong,
There's-
Ashley, but the
there's no
orange,
plan to cut
orange
down
fence.
Any trees in the park.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. And I believe the orange fence, oh, you're talking like in the backside? Yeah, yeah. There, yeah, at this point, there's no. No, that's for construction. Yeah. Okay,
No trees,
yeah.
no, anything that was going to be done with trees has already taken place. They had to trim one and they removed one that was topped over on the first baseline, but no other ones will be done.
Okay. Okay, the second one on this layout slide is basically the size of the dog park. So we have kind of three choices, you know, small, half acre or less. That's usually the minimum you want for a dog park. B's medium up to an acre, and then C's large, an acre plus. If you guys are familiar with the one in Petaluma, just to give you guys some areas on that, that one is fairly large at 2.3 acres in size. Okay, it's the Petaluma one right off the freeway. You can see, yeah,
Next to Friedman's.
next to Friedman's, correct. A newer one that went in that's on the small side is out at Coffee Park in Santa Rosa. That one was only 8,000 square feet, so you know, 0.2 acres. So dog parks do range. So this is a very important question, I think, from you guys. What size park do you want? Yeah. We got a question here. Great, thank you. Yeah, it's good information. And then, okay, so size.
So sorry, just one thing I wanted to add on the location is I heard a comment about worrying about shade and all that. Don't worry about the shade. Just think of what location would be the best, because the shade can always be added, right? Wherever that location ends up being.
Yeah, out in Sebastopol. Yeah. So, okay. As opposed to, so the question is, I assume you're talking about the area to the east of the baseball field. Is that? Yeah. Okay. So Okay, so one of the options on that would be then just. Okay. Okay, so yeah, so one of your. Yeah. So on your answer would be just to upgrade what's existing there to make it repair and use. Okay. So we'll again, yeah, we'll take that. We'll take those down. You could maybe write in as the other in that first category, your response on that. So. Yeah. So, and then the last one is separation of dog areas. So 3 categories on this, separate dog areas for big, small, possibly more passive dogs versus active dogs, and then no separation at all. Currently, there's no fenced dog parks. Yeah, yeah. Currently, there are no like fenced, but you know, except for Putnam. Yeah, except for Putnam. Yeah. How we doing online with those 3? Okay. Yes. Okay. So the question was about big parties in the park. Okay. So, okay. So noise issues, things like that. Okay. Okay. Next slide, Ashley. Okay, so the next slide is, again, if there's a dog park or a new one, or even the existing one, the materials for it. Basically, we're looking at surface materials. What's the preference of the community? If you do have questions about some of these, we have the research on pros, cons on some of them, and we can go over those if you'd like. So we have, I think, 6, 7 options. So next slide, Ashley. So we have grass, pea gravel, sand, wood chips, artificial turf, decomposed granite, or mixed surface. If you, a lot of dog parks now are doing mixed surfaces where there's some turf, some bark, or yeah. On the synthetic or the artificial. Yes. Okay. Good online. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Some site amenities. Again, shade came up before, so this is really site amenities, not only for the dogs, but also the owners of the dogs, seating areas and things like that. So on this, we have, go to the next slide, Ashley. I think we did just to get a higher priority on it. I think we asked for the top 3. We probably should have had another category, at least for the attendees here. If you want to, you can write in if there's additional. let me know when the online. Okay. Okay, next slide. No, it should be, is that it? Okay. Okay. So yeah, that was the last slide. I thought we had other ones. But what we'd like to do, been having discussion, but maybe open it up again for more discussion. Some things like the perimeter trail, looking at. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Right. So again, to carry on that too, I think maybe just some feedback or discussion. I think we've gotten some input on seating around it, that benches, more benches, not so much maybe picnic tables, but more just seating areas around it. Even maybe some single chairs versus 6 foot, 8 foot benches. Things like that would be considered important. And then obviously from the input, the connection to the trail is important. For that bridge, it would be very similar to all your other bridges. It's a prefab bridge, but a lot of engineering to make it work. So, okay, we got one here, and then I'll. Yes, the intent is, and again, when we get the survey back, is designing it ADA accessible all the way around and over the bridge to the trail. So, yeah. Okay, so the question or advocation is definitely shade along the trail, and for maintenance purposes, I didn't catch that part. Sedges, the plant material. Yeah. Okay, so maintenance. Okay, meandering trails. Okay, you got Ashley. You got a question?
I see Sabine. If you would like to lower your hand and unmute, you can ask your question.
Yeah, hi. I just have a question. I joined a little bit late. Is it still possible to sign the earlier polls or fill out the earlier polls?
If you want to, I don't know if I can go back because they were already closed,
Okay.
but I can email them to you if you want to email me at awilson@cotatiCity.org, and then
Great.
I can send them to you and we'll count them that way.
Excellent. And another question is, what about if there are other people in the neighborhood that weren't able to attend? How can they submit their suggestions as well? We live right off the park, so I'm sure people have some
Yeah.
ideas, but
So one thing I wanted to actually remind everybody who is here in our audience in person, but also on Zoom, is that we are concurrently also doing a survey for Putnam Park and Civic Center Park that has a lot of the questions that are being brought up, or concerns or comments that are being brought up here about planting, about the trail, about amenities that you'd like on the trail. And that is also on our not our Facebook page, on our city website, on our homepage in the city news. There's a whole thing about there's links to those, and they have all the same questions. So if you just take that, that would be great. And we are recording this, so you can go back and watch it later.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Should be on the city website, correct, Ashley? Yeah. And
The question was about how people can find out about the survey that we're doing. And just to let you know, it's on our 2 social media channels, Nextdoor, not Nextdoor, Facebook and Instagram. And it's on our homepage of our city website, cotadicity.org. And anybody that lived within the surrounding area of the 2 parks, we did a mailer out with an invitation, and it had a link or a QR code to link to the 2 surveys. There's also signage out at both parks with a QR code there as well. So if you don't live near the park, but you frequent the park, you can still see it that way and scan your phone and do it, or my contact info is there as well. But we can also put it on the marquee if that helps for the survey. It's still open, and it'll be open for a bit.
okay, and I forgot to mention too that this is the first workshop. We are going to have additional workshops on these 2 parks. So again, this is the gathering one. Further workshops will be based on your feedback, is coming up with new conceptual plans for you guys to look at and comment on those as well. So. Correct. So the question was, what is the design process through this initial stage? Very close to what you're talking about. This is again the first workshop gathering information feedback from you. In about a month, is it the 16th, September 16th? We will come back and have another workshop. We'll have 2 to 3 concepts of each of the parks for you to look at. Again, gathering feedback from you, and from that, distilling it into a final concept plan for the park. From there, then we would take it further into construction documents to be able to build the park or the amenities in that. So, I believe probably before the 16th, I think the city, we could put up the different concepts so you guys could view them before the meeting. Yeah. you want to answer that?
We should have a link to the plans on the city news that was for this workshop. It was linking to the 2019 plans on there. It's not. Okay.
Yeah. So the postings at the park, another. Amy, you want to?
So, so ultimately it's up to the council, but what we have this year is we have design budget. So we're designing, and when I say this year, I'm talking fiscal year. So this is a government year, which is July through June, right? It's not a calendar year. So for this fiscal year, we have design money budgeted, which means that by next spring, we should be done with design. And then with the next year budget, so July to June of 24, 25, that's where the council would consider the cost of the projects and what we want to move forward on. So the baseball field, I think, will be finished, I mean, September at some point is the goal. The baseball field will be used, I believe, pretty quickly after it's finished. Yes. It's all public. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Post an on-site schedule on. Well, yeah, it's a good comment. We hadn't gotten that far yet. I know that the league will be working with the city to get the schedule, and we will have the schedule and try to make it public. But we'll talk with the league about other ways, maybe on site somewhere where people can see without having to find it on the website. Actually, yeah, there is. So this figure right here does show the footprint, but also in terms of the sort of the rendering of what the funnel would look like, that's on the city webpage where the headline is for that has information about this workshop. There's also those renderings for the baseball field there. Yeah. Sorry. Right.
There is not for the baseball field. No
Yeah,
lighting will be going in or any sort of like PA system.
Yeah. So the question is, are they going to update the bathrooms at the park? I was talking with one of them just this morning, and they're actually going to be doing some repairs to the existing facility, which was very nice of them to do. But as part of this process, we're also looking at new restroom facilities as well.
There are some questions in the survey about the restrooms as well that we would appreciate responses to.
That's the online survey to be clear. Yeah.
And there's an area at the end of the survey also to leave comments. So if there's something specific that maybe isn't asked or there's no opportunity for you to answer in one of those questions, please put those comments in. If you have recommendation, concern, a preference, any of that, we would appreciate those as well.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll get you in a second. Go ahead. Yeah. Yeah. No, good thoughts. We didn't mention this earlier, but I think you probably already know this. We'll be, when we're talking about the trail and specifically signage and landscaping and that sort of thing, we'll be working with the Laguna Foundation during design as well. So. Oh, okay. Sorry. So go ahead, Ashley.
Nathan, if you would like to unmute, we'll take your question now.
Hi, thank you. This is Nathan Sedlander, also a neighbor living on the park. Wanted to get some feedback from the planning folks about percentage of the park that's being programmed. There's obviously lots of questions about the baseball field, dog park, etc. And it looks like the baseball field is going to be a larger footprint than the previous field. I just want to get a sense of what percentage of the total park area is going to be dedicated now to this new baseball field when we're talking about size of dog parks, etc. And then what percentage would be sort of open field for a more open type of activities. I think one of the things that a lot of the neighbors have liked over the years about the park is that it is an open space that we can all enjoy in a flexible manner. It sounds like there's just a lot of discussion about programming, and I just want to get a sense of what that balance and ratio might look like.
So the amount of open space that would still be there after, like once we make the final design, will really depend on how large the dog park ends up being and where it ends up being. If it and that's based on what we're getting in feedback right now. And
Yeah, I think Ashley has got it. That's the feedback we're getting right now. Yeah, as you stated, the baseball field did get bigger. So, but based on this feedback and future workshops, determining, the dog park stays in the same spot. The open space that's there will remain open space and upgraded. So, percentage wise is a little bit hard at this point until we get further feedback.
Thank you. That makes sense. I just think it might be interesting for those of us who aren't baseball players or dog owners, if there's an opportunity for us to express the kind of open space that we would like as well in balance with some of those activities. I think that would be helpful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's go here. Question. So the question is, we're basically talking about the east side of Helen Putnam Park. The question is there a reason to separate the activities of more of a multi-use field versus, I guess, the dog park, basically, correct? And no, I mean, they can be, one and the same. Again, it's your guys' feedback on what you want to see out there. Yes. Yeah. It's yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's exact. I mean, currently you have to have a dog on leash by ordinance, but if that's what the community wants. Mhm. It's yeah, yeah. It's a city ordinance. Yeah. So It's, I mean, typically you have a dog park because there'll be dog specific amenities. Dogs won't run away from you if for people that don't have good control of their dogs, they won't run and go bite someone, for example, or they won't poop somewhere where some kids are using a baseball or using a soccer area. That's typically why they have enclosed dog parks that are specific to dogs. But I mean, if we have a preponderance of comments where it's like, we don't care, we want the dogs just to have free reign, then,
Okay. Okay. Okay, so we got the comments down on that. And Damien did mention on the baseball field, they are putting gopher wire on the fence on that. So, yeah. 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 So yes, the ball field will have a permanent fence around it. So.
Yeah, it's kind of a two-part question. So we are going aggressively after the Gophers. We have been this year. So that's one part of it. The other part is the field itself is garbage. I mean, in terms of, rutted with gopher holes. So the second part of that question is, would we recreate it, right? And then try to make it flat, pretty smooth, and then continue the gopher abatement. The reality is that gophers are always going to be an issue. It's just trying to control the issue so it doesn't get out of control. And yeah. Physical traps. So okay. So the question is, can we get rid of all the gophers? And yeah, I can tell you the answers to that first question is no. We're never gonna get rid of all the gophers. But we've been working with someone that does gophers. It's kind of a funny story. So we're working with someone that does gopher abatement. And if you can think of what you would imagine a gopher guy being, this is that guy, right? So yeah, like Caddyshack, right? He's not using sniper rifles or explosives out there, but he's going after the gophers, and Ashley gets pictures of the gophers he catches. He lines them up like it's kind of gory, but anyway, yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's great. They're earning their stay. Yeah. Yeah, sorry. Hmm. Okay.
We'll take
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
our
Yeah.
testing safety. I don't know. It's good.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're working on getting them there more frequently because, yeah, I hear the concern. There's a Zoom comment.
On Zoom, Sabine, if you want to go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo what the other neighbor said. It feels like with the larger baseball field, and now we're talking about adding dog parks, that the open field of the park has been really nice, and now we're starting to talk about how do we close things up. And I just wanted to say that a lot of us that live right on the east side of the park, we have kids and also have dogs, frankly, but it's nice to keep that open space open for, kicking the ball around, flying kites. And I just want to make sure that there's an option for us to kind of voice that feedback to actually not build on the east side of the park and keep it open for people to just do whatever. Have dogs there is great, but just when you talk about moving the dog park, we're talking about adding fences and closing things up, and the open feel of the park, I think, gets lost. So I just wanted to say that, and also just make sure that we are in our surveys people can also express that desire as well.
Yes, thank you. So we got your comments in down, and in the survey there's a comment area at the end. So we'll take comments regarding any part of the park there that you can put in if you'd like.
Right, thanks.
Yeah, I think we do. Okay, we have your comments. Yep. Okay. Is that? What's that? Yeah.
Yeah, so technically, I mean, there was a bike lane there before, but the striping, well, yeah, yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it's a California vehicle code. You can't park in a bike lane. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. I mean, we hear you guys, so we'll look into that issue for sure.
Okay, I'm thinking maybe take a 5-10 minute break, 15-minute break, and then we'll get into the Civic Center Park presentation. Yeah.
For those on Zoom, we will be back in about 5 minutes. We're just going to take a quick break and then we'll start on the other park.
Yeah. Oh, Claire. Yeah. Helen Putnam. Sorry. Sorry. Helen Putnam. So I know the dog park as there is 3/4 of an acre. So if I recall right.
Does Damien know?
What's that?
Does Damien?
It should be.
Again, navigating to information on that website is challenging, to say the least.
I will.
Okay, you know what I think would be really helpful, because there's a lot of concern.
We're gonna go ahead and get started. If everybody could take their seats so we can get started on the next park.
All right, everybody, we're going to be working on starting to move to the next park. This is Cater Field at Civic Center, right here behind City Hall. So take your seats if you want to be part of this meeting. Excuse me, guys, take a seat. And then if you want to be in the Civic Center Cater Field. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, everybody. So the second one is right here, Civic Center Park, right behind us. Again, what we're going to be going over is some of the preferred amenities that came out of the 2019. It also had a dog park, so we'll be revisiting a lot of the same stuff. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of the same questions from the first one. And then in addition to that is going to be a volleyball court. As I mentioned earlier, this is kind of new information that has come into the city that additional volleyball courts are something that's needed throughout the city. So this is a potential park to put those in, sand volleyball court outside. So, so from the 2019, the previous public comments, some of the higher ones were drinking fountains, but you can see there, number 4 on the list was dog park, off-leash area. Again, with the current laws, that's a fenced area. And as I mentioned, softball was not part of that. On there pretty high also, though, was walking path with shade trees. Based on where these amenities go in the park again, and again, we'll have you guys look at that to where you want it. There are going to have to be ADA path of travel to these amenities, which will include potential seating and shade for those areas. So let's go ahead. Next slide. So again, the overall park is intended to be done in phases. The ones that we're discussing today is the sand volleyball courts, the dog park, and then ADA path of travel to the amenities. Next slide. So this is the from the existing from the 2019 master plan. Originally, in this one, the dog park. See if I can make this thing work. Yeah, I don't think it's working. Yeah, was down in this area. But again, we'll have you do a polling survey for location on that one as well. Next slide. Again, same goals and objectives. Get your input, feedback on the dog park location, materials, adjacent amenities, and then the same with the sand volleyball location and amenities for the sand volleyball courts. This will inform the design process as before with Ellen Putnam. This is the first information gathering. We will be back to present concepts for further feedback on these amenities. So this first slide is going to show you the locations. So again, it's kind of like the same one. Can you guys pass out the, sorry, handouts? So the upper left-hand slide is showing locations A, B, C. A is again fairly close to where the 2019 one was. B and C are just additional locations that are open space. That could be potential areas. What's that? Yeah. Question? Well, so yeah, so the volleyball was additional comments the city has received since 2019. You know, as actually when the polling survey for that was done was probably 2018. So it's been about 5 years. So there's been additional comments come in for additional volleyball. Good question on the second one. Will it take away amenity of something else? This is feedback we want to get from you today, such as, you know, the splash pad is still important to me. If we're going to do this, I don't want to lose that for that. Yeah. And for this, you can maybe take a look at the 2019 where the splash pad was kind of proposed. So if that's important to you, C would probably not be your answer for where a dog park would go or the volleyball. So.
Also I'm not sure if you were here for the other park, but we also have a survey going on to. Okay, and I was gonna say there's questions in there about the skate park too, like and how important it is to you. So we'll kind of weigh that against what we get for these other from here today.
Okay, next slide. So this will be your first polling question. Three parts of the location. So if you recall, A is the south side of the park, which is where currently it was kind of laid out in 2019. B would be the more center of the park, and then C is kind of on the north side of the park. I should mention too, the baseball field is staying. It's not getting bigger or anything, but that's staying as well. And then you can write in other. And the write-in on the other might be where you can make comments too on the splash pad or other amenities. Yeah.
I can see on here that instead of other, for some reason, the location says none on the volleyball court Zoom survey.
Oh.
So it should actually be other if you're answering that way, just for those on Zoom. Sorry.
Just let me know when their online's done. Okay, so the next one is the number of courts. So we're trying to gauge, again, the intensity that might needed at this site.
So just one note on the number of courts. To your question, 1 to 2 courts would probably be based on my understanding of the layout of things. We could probably fit 1 to 2 courts in there and not lose other things. You start going 2 to 4 or more, then you're talking about some other thing getting pushed out of the park, whether that's a skate park or splash pad or, you know, but 1 to 2 probably could fit in the existing park. More than that, we're losing things.
You go on. Last one. Ashley. Yeah. Okay. And then the last one is the court layout. Maybe you can go back a slide. So option A, well, the top slide on the right is a continuous court. So it's all sand across, whether it's 1, 2, or multiple, versus the slide below that has a little separation between the courts. The one on the bottom allows for maybe amenities on each side of the court versus the other one, which is a little bit harder to put amenities in between them. So.
And then in different areas would mean like one on one part of the park and then another one totally different space in the park.
Correct. You can go on. And then this next polling will be about the site amenities for the volleyball. So we're going to have just kind of a preference of, benches for the players, bleachers for audience, and then shade again for the audience or players adjacent to it. So the polling slide. On this one, you can choose all that you prefer. So if you want them all, choose them all. You good, Ashley? Yep. Next slide. Okay, so this is going to be the same questions for that we did with Helen Putnam, but for the Civic Center here. So this is for the dog park layout. Again, in the upper left-hand slide has options A, B, and C for locations, similar to the volleyball areas. So you can go to the next slide. So location, again, south side of the park, center of the park, north side of the park, or other for location within the park. Olga, is it different?
We're just looking at the survey that people are doing here in-house. Seems like there's a discrepancy. So just a sec.
Yeah. Ashley, can you go back? So, I think that got copied from Helen Putnam. So just mark on your surveys based on this map, A, B, or C. Yeah, but just mark A, B, or C on that. We'll amend. Online should be fine, right? Yeah, online is okay. Okay, next slide. Okay, size, again, similar, small, half acre, medium, up to an acre, large, acre plus. Yeah, so currently shown on the 2019 is small. It's like 8,000 square feet. So that's only about 0.2 acre. So that would definitely be on the small side. And yeah, I mean, just for reference to the kind of the turf area on the west side there, that whole, if you more of a rectangle shape there, that's about almost an acre, just under an acre. So.
For those on Zoom, you can't see the plans that are hanging up, but for the size area, this where A is,
A and B would be.
A and B
B would-
together is about an acre, almost an acre. So that's just something to use as reference. Just A is about 0.2 acres, but adding B there would be almost an acre.
And then the last one is the separated dog areas, big, small, passive, active, or no separation. whenever you're ready, Ashley. Next slide. Dog park materials. So this is the surfacing of materials again is identical to Helen Putnam. Next slide. So again, we have grass, pea gravel, sand, wood chip, artificial turf, decomposed granite, or a mixed surface of the above. Okay, next slide. Is the site amenities for the dog park. So next slide. So we want your top 3 selections so we can get a kind of a priority on what's important to the community. Benches, mounds, agility items, drinking fountain, water fountain for people and dogs, shade areas, picnic tables. Yeah, top 3. Next slide. So that one went much quicker. No baseball questions on that one. So what we want to do is just again, just open this up for any other discussions on the park. It can relate to what we were talking about or just in general, just as before about the other amenities or anything else on the park that you guys want to bring up. Yeah. So the question was, is it going to follow the same timeline? And yes, it'll.
Yeah. So yeah, generally, yes. Actually, there's a caveat for potentially both of them. If there's dog parks, we may, depending on how things go, we may advance that earlier. The question was, what's the schedule of this project? And so generally, it's designed through this fiscal year and then construction next fiscal year. The caveat is that dog parks may go sooner because particularly in this park with the baseball, it's actually, this is more like a softball, like small. Yeah, it's been a problem for years where people let their dog off leash in the baseball field and they dig in there and try. It's not good, right? So that may advance in schedule. So that could potentially get built this year, the dog park piece of it. Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay. So follow up, as Ashley has mentioned before, this is also online. So there's a online survey for this park as well. Follow up questions. Ashley is available as well. Her information's on the slide. And I guess with that, we'll call it a day. I appreciate everybody coming out and giving us your feedback. It does help. I think you guys, Katati Park went through the same process and we've gotten some good feedback on that park as well. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. And September 16th will be the next workshop for both the parks. We should have some refined concept plans for you guys to review. Okay. 16. Yeah, 16.
For those on Zoom, we will have our follow-up workshop on both parks on September 16th at 1 p.m. We will also have it here we'll have it here at City Hall again. We will also offer it on Zoom again. If you need the Zoom information, we will have it on our website next week, or you can email me at awilson@cotatiCity.org to get the invite.